Joe Caulfield, thank you so much for joining us on 95.9 FM Andover Radio. You're coming to the Lights Theatre on February the 3rd for your tour, Here Comes Trouble. You won Comedian of the Year in 2022, so you're kind of a big deal. I've watched various of your YouTube clips. I've seen you on Mock the Week and Have I Got News for You. Really excited for you to come to Andover. So for the people of Andover, tell us what people can expect from your Here Comes Trouble tour at the Lights.
I tend to do stuff that is anything that annoys me, then it will end up being something usually that I do comedy about. So it'll be everyday stuff. It's sort of real life that I do, and I like to involve an audience, I call it. People go, oh, don't sit at the front. I go, it's just a chat. I might ask you a question. And so I particularly like to do stuff with couples. To talk to them, because I've been married for a very long time. So that will feature. My husband features in the show. Things about, it seems very common that when I've been asking, I have a whole routine because I went out with my husband and his friends, and it was like I was a spy, is how I felt, because I was like, this is not, to me, not a normal way to behave with your friends who you've known for 20, 30 years. I realised that what they like to do is they basically sort of exchange facts with each other. That's a male conversation. And they all have their little topics that they think they know about. And they don't talk about anything personal. A mate of my husband's, I was asking, he'd seen her. I said, oh, how's his wife? My husband went, oh, I think they're divorced. I was like, what do you mean? You think they're divorced? When did this happen? And it was like 2 years ago, and he had never mentioned it. I asked for details, obviously, and he went, oh, well, we didn't really talk about it. And then he actually said, I would have done if he wanted to, but luckily he didn't want to, so we talked about West Ham. I thought, oh my God, I don't know how you people function. So it's little things like that, and just sort of, I think, some things that I'll do on stage, like I'm not annoyed, but my niece, who is a very lovely young woman, but she's into crafting, which I don't understand really. And I got some crafted gifts at Christmas, which I didn't want. And I don't think anyone does. Not from an adult, not from a 28-year-old woman. Yeah. So I just talked about it on stage, and then it developed into a whole routine, because I didn't realise that crafting was quite a hobby with young people now. And she did painting pebbles. Again, no one wants them.
As you
and
do,
there was, yeah, and then things like, and then it was my neighbour had started crocheting and was saying to me, well, why don't you get into something like crocheting? And I just said, because we've had an industrial revolution. And it's not like they don't come up with things that are either nice. None of us, the people I know who are doing it, have any talent for this sort of thing. It's just become a thing people do with their spare time. I'm like, there must be other things to do.
So how long have you been on the set? How long have you been?
I've been doing this show because this was it's sort of the festival show that I did in Edinburgh this year, and because I haven't been on tour for a couple of years. So it's sort of a mixture of this year's show, or next year, aren't we? Last year and the year before. And so I've been doing it since the autumn, and then I had a little Christmassy, break, and then back on. So I'll be excited again, which is good. So I won't be in my tired now. I'll be like, well, I can't wait to start talking to people. Because I think that is a thing, like when you're on tour, you have to want to get out there and tell people these things. And it's also that nothing is better for me than seeing people nudging each other, going, you're like that, or that's so true, to see that what I'm saying, people do relate to it, or they're equally annoyed by things as well as me. So I would say it's a cathartic experience. If you have pent-up anger like me, you can get it out at the show. Yeah.
And I think what you just touched on is that observational comedy, and it's everyday, what people can relate to. That people, they do sit there and go, oh yeah, that sort of is, and it gets the audience engaged in that way because they relate to their own lives and they go, actually,
yes, yeah.
So we had just last year in December we had Justin Morehouse.
Good pal.
And he ranted and raved how brilliant you are, and during the show, because I did watch him, and he ranted and raved and said, right, you're coming here in February, get amongst it. So really, really excited.
How nice of him. That's great.
So he put you on the radar of the audience that night. So I think there's a lot of anticipation of you coming, which is brilliant.
That's great.
Good. So I just want to ask your inspiration for comedy. Where do you find it? I know you go out and it's everyday thing. I mean, are there comedians or people that you look up to and you take inspiration from?
I think when I first started, the person that as a kid, my family's from Ireland, and we used to watch Dave Allen. And I think to this day, his stuff still stands up. Like, I think he was ahead of his time in his tone. It was more like modern comedy in that we were all on the same level with Dave Allen. It was just a bit, I always felt like his show was like, he would tell us some stuff and then it would be our turn to tell a story. But the show ended, so we didn't get to tell our story.
Yeah.
So as a kid, I was like, I really liked him. And then when I started to go, I didn't really go and see comedy much when I was young, like teenager and stuff. It wasn't really a thing you'd go to at all. You're out and about, you're going to gigs and stuff like that, music. And then I went with a friend, I wasn't that interested, to the Comedy Store, and Jack D was on.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh, this is something different. Because it felt like he wasn't even trying to make people like him, which he isn't, It's just like, oh, this is just moaning and complaining and being angry, a bit rude to the audience, a bit offhand with them. I could do this.
Okay.
I was already being quite a rude waitress, so I thought, I think I've got transferable skills. And also he is amazing. His observational skills, I think, are amazing. Some of his routines I would still listen to go. Like his routine, funnily enough, about going to a craft fair would make me go, oh, wow, this is how to put together a routine, And I still think he's absolutely brilliant at little observations on stuff. And there's lots of people, Justin is great. He has lovely observations, and also about the way he deals with his kids who growing up and sort of, I have similar stuff where as you get older, you want to keep up with what people are doing. And I don't want to judge people and go, well, that's silly because they're young, because I remember my parents doing that. And you go, no, I want to try and find out what young people are doing. And then you find yourself doing something like an old person. And with me, it was being asked what kind of milk I wanted at a cafe.
Brilliant.
And I said, just normal milk. And they went, well, what do you mean by that? And then they listed all these different milks. Yeah, and I just thought, oh, don't be a silly old bag. But I thought when I grew up, there was only two milks. I thought we had milk.
Blue and green, wasn't it?
Well, in my house, with milk that you drank and then milk you would smell. And then if it smelled weird, then you didn't drink it. That was the two milks.
Joe, I want to thank you so much for your time. Before we go, so you're going to be at the Lights Theatre next Friday, which is the 3rd of February. Tickets are on sale at the Lights box office. That's thelights.org.uk. Before you go, just give the listeners just one little teaser and a bit of a va-va-voom to come to your show.
Well, I would say, this is probably not about room to come to my show. I was just thinking, like sometimes people say, well, what would you have on your tombstone? And I think this sums it up. She came, she saw, she criticised. That would be me.
Brilliant. Okay, well, so looking forward to it, Joe. Thank you so much for your time. It's been a pleasure.